All right, back to working on the front end. So here this weekend, kind of my plan is to, for one, I want to get rid of these ugly core support mounts here. So that's actually what mounts the core support over there. And a lot of people change these out to tube. For one, it kind of increases your approach angle, and also it just looks way better and way more professional looking in the end. So kind of taking advantage of that. So also I'm going to be trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the fuse box. I think I'm going to try to kind of place it up here a little bit higher. That way it can clear the tire all the way up and keep it out of the way, because I do not plan on rewiring the whole truck. As much as I'd love to move the fuse box inside, I think my plan is to kind of just run this the way it is and then eventually go to a Holley system or something like that. So what I've done with these is I've actually gotten these 3D printed so they fit in there super tight, and then a piece of 2-inch DOM can go through there, and then this is actually 1 inch and 1/8 inch shorter than the OEM ones are. So that way I can actually drop the core support just like the body is dropped 1 inch, and then have an 1/8 inch plate that sits on top of here. So that's kind of my plan from here. So let's get started on it. So with this, the goal has been to get this as close to the top as possible. Obviously see it rounded out in there. So I actually now, because of clearance, trying to get that tube to go through, I need to cut this top portion like so. So I'm going through and making it so it just has enough, and the goal is to have that tube sit right here at the top and get welded across right there. This whole front section is gonna go bye-bye. All right, so now we got these guys cut and cleaned up. I'm actually gonna clean up these ends once they're actually on the truck. That way I can kind of figure out the exact length that I want. But got these, that one's inside this 3D printed little puck here, and that is the same exact size as this outside right here. So that's actually, I'm gonna weld the inside right here of this plate. And I got the hole for center right there. So we're gonna get the weld on the inside there. That way I don't have any issues trying to get this to sit right. but that's gonna almost wrap up this front core support mount right here. I still have to plate in these frame horns here just to hopefully have it go over and kind of weld in right there. But I also do kind of want to leave that open for a good tie-in spot for the eventual bumper that's going to be here. So that'll be a solid tie-in straight to the frame right there at the cross member. So kind of trying to think ahead as much as I can. And then with this, I'm going to move on to the fuse box relocation right here. So my idea with this, I kind of want to retain all the stock wiring that I can. So I was able to get a little bit of give out of there. And it looks like I'm going to be able to mount this all the way up here and kind of make a clean little tube structure. I can always get a new lid, make that look nicer, but get a little bit of a plate underneath. And then hopefully that will be enough clearance for the 40s right there. I'm assuming the 40s aren't going to touch to the engine cage. So we're going to try our luck there. So let's get to it. Well, there is the rough idea for the fuse box mount. There's gonna be one more wire that comes up here to the front core support over here. But yeah, that's it. We just used this 3/4 tubing right here and made this go around. All of this will get cleaned up. And then we have a 1/8 inch steel plate that sits on the bottom side right there. That one little connector hangs out, but yeah, now we just hope that it does clear 40s, which I imagine it should. I mean, any higher than that, we're really just looking at a full rewire, but we should be all right. Now I just got to get to cleaning up more wiring in here and get Dylan to do the final welding. So let's go. So now that the fuse box has landed, we put on the air intake and it looks like that's actually going to clear. I may put a little bit of a bracket right there to kind of hold it in place, but looks like that one's going to work for the time being. Next up, I'm actually going to be getting to this lower cross member here. So I'm going to get this cut out and then we are going to be replacing it with this one. This is another product by Izzy Fabrication, and that basically replaces this whole cross member with a 4130. It's all TIG welded. This is awesome. It's gusseted on the inside. It's just way stronger than this is. So we're kind of taking the opportunity while we're here to upgrade everything that we can. The one thing is with the steering rack, I have to actually line up these bottom holes here with this right here. As you see, it doesn't actually have the provisions for it, and that's my fault. That is not Izzy's. Izzy offers that as an option when you buy these. So just to make that clear. So I'm actually gonna line up these two bottom holes with that and drill it out accordingly. So let's get this stock one cut out. All right, well, now I have that front cross member off, and then I'm gonna kind of throw it in the center. Because everything's out of the way, I'm kind of taking advantage of some of the stuff while I can get to it. So for one, I did this ICT billet. It's the vacuum pump delete right there. I made a separate video on that, so go and check that out if you're interested in that. You don't need a vacuum pump at all on these trucks. You just pull it right off. It's made in China and it commonly fails. So one less issue to have. So what I am also taking advantage of right now is I'm actually changing out the motor mounts right here. So this one is going to be an Izzy Fab motor mount. It's not really that interesting to watch. It's just pulling bolts out and throwing other ones in. They are a pain in the butt, but just to throw the main difference out there, this right here is going to be the old motor mount. It is super nasty and corroded, and these things got 150,000 miles on them, so it's about time to get those changed out. So right here, we have the Izzy Fab motor mounts. Just got those located in. These are all TIG welded 4130. They got poly bushings in them. They're not gonna be as cozy for daily driving just because it's probably more susceptible to vibrating the frame more, but obviously at this point, we are not worried about a little bit of vibration. So that is super cool. They're not too expensive. And yeah, now we're gonna get to the other side right here. So that's a perfect way of showing you. There's a nasty stock one right there I'm working on unbolting. So let's get that out of there. So right there, one of those nasty guys. And then right here we have the vacuum pump, your GM OEM manufacturer right there, made in China. So more and more trash, I guess we can call it weight reduction. So let's get these badass motor mounts in. All right, well, it got dark last night, so I ended up just wrapping up with the motor mounts here. I got everything paint marked. Everything is all ARP hardware, torqued down. And for those who don't know, right here, this is Revlock Race Supplies. I chose white. It's available in all sorts of different colors. This is for paint marking your bolts here. And if for any reason, this is a torqued down bolt, so if it were to back out at all, this paint right here is gonna break and you'll be able to see that. You can choose, again, all sorts of different colors. I chose white. It's just simple, goes with any color theme you decide to go with. So next up, we're actually gonna be getting to the headers. I'm trying to get everything I can out of the way here because very shortly here, these guys are going in. So let's get to it. So here's the new headers we're going with. These are made by Thorley. So one of the obvious differences you're gonna see right away is they are a 4:2:1 design. So rather than the typical 4:1 design, these are supposed to create a lot more mid-range torque. And the other advantage I'm really seeing with these is the packaging. See how the collectors are super high? They're gonna be able to dodge the shock towers a lot easier is my thought process. With the last headers and last kit that I had, I basically took a brand new set of $1,000 headers and had to heat them up and smack them with the sledgehammer just to clear the shock tower. So super stoked on these. Really hoping they get to stay nice and pretty. That's the idea, I guess, but yeah, let's get to bolting these things in. All right, well, before we get started, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the gasket right here. So I've had the best luck with AC Delco gaskets. I've used cheaper ones in the past and they've leaked. So once I went to these, I didn't have any more exhaust leaks. So one of the things I feel like should get thrown out there is that. And then also these header bolts are super well known for breaking off in the head right there. And it's a huge pain in the butt to get them out. So while you're here, do it once, do it right, get the ARP hardware. And I went with the stainless. I find it looks better and it's only about $5 more. So yeah, now let's get to it. Now we've got the headers installed. It's gonna be the fastest header install you've ever seen. And the fitment on these is great. One of the things I was concerned about is I did do a 1-inch drop on the actual cab itself, and then also you're adding in motor mounts and shock towers. Now one of the things I did kind of mock up this shock tower here, and in a lot of other long travel kits, you actually run into issues with clearance for the shock tower there. So one of the things with this primary here, it is tucked behind and it allows for the clearance for that shock tower. So if you are going to a long travel kit like this, I highly recommend doing the Thorley headers. I went with Texas Speed last time and I had to beat the absolute hell out of them to sit there and clear the aftermarket shock towers. So super pumped. Fitment's cool, tri-Y design, super cool. Couldn't be more pumped. All right, and last thing working on is gonna be getting that Crossmember on. So this front section here, I'm gonna be using the lower control arms of the new long travel kit to true these to the frame, and then we'll get those tacked on, and then it's time to actually install that long travel kit. All right, well, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode here. I've kind of got everything up here reorganized and we're ready to start cycling tires with the long travel kit that we got going on. So obviously we got the lower control arms on when we did that Crossmember there. And then now it's time to really start working on the shock towers. And then we just got our shock package in there. So again, couldn't be more stoked. This has been a super hard part of the process, just trying to get parts in, get certain things rebuilt, and kind of have everything line up. So with that being said, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.